Dasi Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara. I don't know if I can remember everything, but you know, I joined when I was like 17 years old. I saw the devotees on High Street, San Fernando, chanting because I was working in a store next to the library, and they used to come to the library corner, and a devotee named Vaikuntanath and Saradia, along with a few other local devotees, will be singing and chanting. So, and I was working in Woolworth, and then like on Saturday, I would leave half the work, and coming out, I would see these devotees chanting, and it was like a big surprise for the first time to see white people wearing Indian clothing and singing on the street, on the floor, like they put some mat on the floor and with a harmonium and drums and singing. And it was really funny that how do I accept that? What is going on? I had so many suspicions and things in my mind about what's really going on. So then this happened a couple times, and I quit that job and I moved up to Tonapuna, where the devotees were renting an apartment on the next street from the one I was staying in, Cemetery Street. They were staying in Picton Street. And so one of the devotees who used to be with Vaikuntanath chanting on the street, he is a friend of my brother. And so he came with us to rent a room. And so he moved in with us. Early in the morning, from the house that we were living in on the second floor, on the porch, you could see the house that the devotee were renting. There were 4 devotees, Patita Pawan, there were Surasesta, Hanuman Goswami, and Srinivas. They're all Americans. And so he would say, Lam would say, look, see how these people chanting and dancing early in the morning, because there was a big glass door and you can see through. So I went, maybe 2 days after, I went there to find out what's going on. And when I went there, they welcomed me really nicely. And they gave me prasadam. First, they asked me to read from the Gita. They were having a class. I read. And then I see Taksha, Vama there. I didn't know their name at that time. I say, how long you here now? They said, a couple of days ago, we joined over here with the devotees. And then maybe a week after, they left for Puerto Rico. So that's basically how I joined the movement there. So when they went to Puerto Rico, then all the paraphernalia they left back, we took those, and Pitamvara and Taksha and Devama and a few devotees, they went to Bades Maharaj, who at that time was a millionaire, big man. He has houses all over, and asked him for a place to start a temple. So Bades Maharaj gave us a place in Curep. And then I took the paraphernalia and we set up an altar. And so we started a temple there. Patita Pawan and the 4 devotees who I just quoted before, Hanuman Goswami, they all went to Puerto Rico, but Patita Pawan came back. And he was staying with us in Curep. Then we're going out and doing Harinam, Sankirtan, doing book distribution. At that time, we were doing the book, small books, and Easy Journey to Other Planets and Raja Vidya. I think those are the books were out. And so we were doing that, house to house, book distribution. After some time, Chitsukunanda was sent, and they relieved Patita Pawan from that service. He went back to United States, and Chitzkunanda took over. When Chitzkunanda took over, we had to leave there eventually, and when we left there, devotees scatter here and there, and what happened then?
Haridev.
Then, yeah, so then we went to Haridev's house in Port of Spain. He had a house in Port of Spain, and Chitzkunanda, myself, we spent some time there. So he decided to go to Guyana, Suriname. So we went over there to Guyana. When we reached in the airport, the immigration customer asked Chitzkunanda, "Are you going to dance on the street?" Because we had on dhoti and everything. "Are you going to dance on the streets?" He's just going to say yes. "And sing on the streets?" We say yes. He said, "Well, you take the same plane you came with and get out of the country." So he said, "We got to go." So one guy who was listening, he called Chitzkunanda aside and said, he knows somebody might be able to help you. He's in the government and he's in charge of Mahasabha. It's called Sheshnarayan. So he called up Sheshnarayan, make arrangement that we can stay for 3 days in the country. And they put us up in a hotel. It's not exactly a hotel. It's the Mahasabha headquarters in Lamaha Street in Georgetown. So we spent some time there, but we can't come out with dhoti or shaven head. We have to cover our head when we go to the marketplaces. So we spent 3 days there. But the last day, we went in front of a big market, me and Haridev, and started chanting for a short time. And then we take off to New Amsterdam. New Amsterdam is on the way to Suriname. And then at that time, Mahasabha leader, which is Sheshnarayan, they were in touch with Chitzkunanda. And so he said, you could stay in the Mahasabha quarters in New Amsterdam. Spending some time there, we did Harinam, Sankirtan, all through the streets everywhere for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then a devotee named Autar, he came and he wanted us to stay by his house. He says, "There's nothing going on here. Come, we have big temple programs." We went to Autar house. We made his living room a temple. Spent about 3 months there. Then we did some jagya here and there in temples, and then we proceed to Suriname. When we went to the marketplace in Suriname, there's one politician man called Sri Govind. He told us to come to his house and stay. So we spent some time with him. Then he wanted us to do some radio programs. We did that. We went all through the street and distribute books. And then we went to Paramaribo, French Guyana, come back. We didn't do anything more. Come back to Autar house in Guyana. And then after that, we back to Trinidad. Staying by Haridev in Trinidad, the place was small. So we decided to start a center. So Chitzkunanda went to Maracas Valley, rented a big house with land, and called all the devotees from Trinidad who were scattered here and there to let's get together. So he went to Ram Kipalani, he gave us a jeep. We went to Sri Ram Brothers who fix the road. He gave us a cow, and we started there. The CID didn't like how the movement was spreading very fast. The CID came and told Chitzkunanda, if you don't get out of the country, we're going to jail you. So he had to leave the country. And when Chitzkunanda left, then devotees scatter again. And finally we formed a place we got a place at St. Augustine. From St. Augustine, staying there, we were told that Srila Prabhupada is going to visit us there and make arrangement. At that time, the GBC was Hridayananda Maharaj. Hridayananda Maharaj said that make arrangement, but Prabhupada is coming to Trinidad and probably Guyana, building tents. At that time, Taksha was the president. Tent building in the front, getting ready for Srila Prabhupada arrival. Then the next day, there was a call from Chitzkunanda saying, from Hridayananda Maharaj saying, whoever want to see Prabhupada, you got to come right away because Prabhupada is not coming to Trinidad anymore. Plans has changed. At that time, all the devotees who could have buy the ticket and just move. They just immediately bought the ticket and flight to Caracas. I had no money. I was broke. So Taksha said to me, "Are you going to see Prabhupada?" I said, "I got no money." He said, "I'll buy you a ticket. Let's go." So Taksha bought me a ticket. And so we went there. But while going to the temple, I knew the temple because before that, before Prabhupada coming there, I was in Venezuela. I was in Caracas temple. So I knew what it's like in the location. So it's on a hill, and the car dropped us there, and we had to walk. While walking up the hill, you're going around the office where Prabhupada going to be staying. So I looked down and I saw Pitambara. Pitambara is a Spanish devotee from Trinidad. I mean, he's a Trinidadian, but he speaks Spanish, and he's, like that. So we were very close before. So I said, "Pitam, what are you doing with that stick in your hand?" He said, "I'm Prabhupada God." I said, "What are you eating?" And he said, "I'm eating Prabhupada here. It's prasadam." And then that's something else. I didn't realize eating, here from the spiritual master was prasadam. So anyway, I went around to the front. They show us where we're going to stay. Me and Taksha were staying together in one room. And waiting at night, we're chanting our rounds, waiting, hoping to see how it's going to be like to see Prabhupada for the first time. And I went, so next morning there was a Guru Puja, and I went to the Guru Puja. Srila Prabhupada was there. Just after that, he sat down for class. So Srila Prabhupada sat down and given the class, and here I am sitting close to Prabhupada, maybe 15 feet away, puffed up and full of pride, thinking that I'm a great person. Because I used to study Lobsang Rampa books on thought forces and all of that, and practice to do astral traveling and all that. So I'm thinking, I can connect with Prabhupada mentally. And I look at Prabhupada and he would never look at me. And I did that for 40 minutes and Prabhupada would never look at me. And I feel bad. Class is coming to a close, is over almost, where Prabhupada is not looking at me. And I'm feeling that, what is this? How come Prabhupada not looking at me? And I bent my head like this. And as I was about to raise my head like this, I saw two bright sunlight, like fire, piercing into my eyes, going through my heart. And then I realized he's going through life before this one. And I start feeling ashamed. I know I'm very conscious of everything, what's in my mind, how I was thinking. And now I'm feeling ashamed. Like making you humble, like a blade of grass now. It's got this light. It's so bright, and I'm dark, and it covered me over and I'm feeling really, 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 really humbled. So after that, after class, I went down to the room, and I can't get over this thing. What had happened to me? What took place? Why am I feeling like this? So I went to sleep that night. Early in the morning, they said, all Trinidadian devotees, get ready. Prabhupada is going for morning walk. And they want the Trinidad devotees to be in the morning walk. But it was a different spirit now in the morning. It was like a lively spirit. So I jumped in a van and it dropped me off in the park. I saw Prabhupada distant walking, and he was like walking fast, but it's like so smooth, like he was walking in air. And a flower fell out his clothing, a gainda. I pick it up and I feel very special. And I meet up with Prabhupada. I walked behind him, hearing devotees asking him questions. I'm just so happy to be there. I don't know what to say. Kishore asked Prabhupada. Kishore is a devotee, is the one who was corresponding with Prabhupada when he was in India, when Prabhupada wanted to come to Trinidad. So Kishore was there too. And Kishore asked Prabhupada, what's going to happen with the Pandits in in Trinidad and Tobago? And Prabhupada said, they're going to go womb after womb if they don't take to Krishna consciousness. And so many other questions were asked and finished, came back home. So the next morning, anyway, that day I went to the kitchen. Prabhupada's servant, Srudiketi, was cooking. And he said to me, they asked for some help, and they thought I'm a cook because I cook in Trinidad. And so Srudiketi said, come to the kitchen. I said, I'm not a Brahmana. He said, you look like one, just come. At that time, Prabhupada's plate was now coming out from his room, and they gave the plate to me with Mahaprasadam. I distributed it. And I don't remember exactly how the rest of the day passed, but it passed. And then next day, Prabhupada was leaving for the United States. So I got a ride again with some van to the airport. When I get to the airport, there were so many devotees chanting and singing around Prabhupada. And Prabhupada, they brought like a big plate with fruits, cut up oranges and bananas, and Prabhupada was giving out and stuff like that. So I went on a seat close there and I sit down and I watch him, because you can't really get to Prabhupada. They were so thick. There were so many people around him, you can't get through. Even I put my hand through, I couldn't reach far enough to get some Maha. Then the announcement made for Srila Prabhupada to board the plane. And then Kirtan, things were still going on. Then a second time they made an announcement. Then the devotee said, Prabhupada had to go now. So as Prabhupada leaving to go through customs, I felt like he was taking my heart and going. And I started crying. And I didn't understand what was taking place. All I know, it was like a boy and a girl in love. And sometimes the girl take the boy heart, or the boy take the girl heart, and sometimes there's so much of suffering and pain that Prabhupada was leaving. Then he left. And the memory that I got at that time still with me today. And this memory is what really have me around Krishna consciousness, really and truly, nothing else. But I didn't understand what it was. So in 1978, Adi Keshava, the GBC for New York, and Swami came to Trinidad and asked us to come to New York to cook in the restaurant. When I came up to New York, I was working in the restaurant for $50 a week. They're not paying me a salary because I'm working. They're giving me that just to use the laundromat and all of that. But I saved that money and I went to India. The ticket at that time was $600. When I went to India, I went to Vrindavan. I spent 3 or 4 days in Vrindavan. And when I was leaving Vrindavan, I had the same feelings that I got from Srila Prabhupada when Prabhupada was leaving Caracas. And then I put 2 and 2 together and I realized Prabhupada was taking Vrindavan wherever he went. So that is what really happened, because I was leaving Vrindavan and crying too in India. And I said, what, the same thing happened, the same feelings here, the same feeling Prabhupada gave me in Venezuela. Then I realized Prabhupada took Vrindavan all over the world, wherever he went. And I came back to New York, and this is actually my story. There's 3 days association with Srila Prabhupada, and that's the only 3 days association I ever had with Prabhupada in my life. So this is my story with Srila Prabhupada. What happened was, after Prabhupada, I wrote Prabhupada, I sent him a telegram because they wanted me to take initiation. So I wrote Prabhupada, I sent Prabhupada a telegram stating, Prabhupada, my name was given by the Pandits in Trinidad, and it indicates who I am. And if you're choosing a name for me, can you give me a name corresponding to that same quality that who I am? And then when I came back to Trinidad, I was there in Venezuela as about maybe November, December, around there. So then, so Prabhupada chose my name and chanted on the beads and sent it on Bia Krishna Maharaj. At that time, I went and married Bakula. I brought her to Trinidad. And so Taksha was getting married at the same time. So we had a ceremony, and Bhaya Krishna Maharaj did a ceremony for Taksha marriage and for my initiation ceremony.
In Trinidad, in St. Augustine. In St. Augustine.
In St. Augustine. It was 72. I saw the devotees chanting in San Fernando, High Street, under the library corner. 72, yeah, it was 72.
All right. As you know, my story is slightly different because I did not meet Srila Prabhupada, even though I took initiation from Srila Prabhupada. So I do not have a story to tell you of meeting Srila Prabhupada in that way. However, I had finished high school in Guyana, and I had moved up to Canada in Toronto in about 1973, and we were living in Toronto, Canada. I was there with my father and my uncle, and I was attending college there. I was doing a course in secretarial science in Shaw's colleges, and my course was finishing up, and my father had decided that he didn't want me to take up too much of the Western habits. So he says, I'm going to take you to the temple. So he took my uncle and me to the temple. And at that time, the temple was on Gerrard Street. And that was about late 73. So my father had already met the devotees, and that would be Vaikuntanath and Sardiya. They were preaching in Guyana. So they were on the street, like he said, singing, doing Harinam, and also book distribution. So my father would often go to the city, Georgetown. We didn't live in the city. And he would frequently come up to Georgetown because he was a businessman. He would shop in Georgetown and have the merchandise sent down to where we lived in the country, in Wakenham. So what happened is he was on one of those business trips and he met the devotee there. That would be Vaikuntanath and Sardiya. And he got a Back to Godhead. And I remember he got a songbook, the Vaishnava songbook, the old black and white Vaishnava songbook. So he brought those home. So he had met the devotees before he went to Canada. So he knew a little bit about what they represented and what they were doing. At that time, Vaikuntanath and Sardiya, when they were preaching there, they had met a gentleman by the name of Ram, and he had a business place in Guyana, in Georgetown, called Ram's Variety Store. And Vaikuntanath was such a good preacher that he was able to preach to the guy because he was dying. And he must have said to him, whatever you have, if you give to Krishna, you will get, whatever he said. I was not there. So whatever he preached to the guy signed over the property to Vaikuntanath. So he gave that as a donation. It was a store in Georgetown that he had given over. So after that, I guess Sardiya and Vaikuntanath left. But what happened is my father got the Back to Godhead from them and the songbook. And then he now went to Toronto. And I don't know how he got connected with the temple there, but he knew where the temple was. And he took me and my uncle to the temple. So we kept going every Sunday to the temple. I was listening to the lectures. And we would take part in the whole program. And then I remember reading Krishna books. So I had Krishna books and I was reading and taking into the process seriously. And I was also listening to lectures from Prabhupada. And I remember listening to Prabhupada saying that a pure devotee does not glorify himself, but he glorifies Krishna and the pure devotees. So I'm listening to this and I'm looking to see anywhere, is Srila Prabhupada glorifying himself or is he glorifying Krishna and the pure devotee? So with my tiny mind, I am trying to see this. So however, I'm still looking. I still haven't found anywhere where Srila Prabhupada is glorifying himself and not the pure devotee in Krishna. Even though he's written so many books, there is no place you can see that Srila Prabhupada is spending time to glorify himself. There's no time for that. So much katha on Krishna only. So then in Toronto, it came a time when my father was leaving to go back to Guyana. So when he was leaving, there was a devotee from Trinidad. Her name was Prajna, who was living in the Toronto temple. I don't know if you know her. Have you ever met her? So she was living in the temple, and my father was going back to Guyana. So he asked me what to do. What do I want to do? I said, well, okay, I'm going to move into the temple. So now he told Prajna, can you look over me? So he had that nature where he wants me to be protected. So he told Prajna, can you look over me while I'm at the temple? So then he left, and I moved into the temple in Toronto. So that's how I became a devotee there. I moved into the temple in Toronto. And then after that, shortly after I moved in, my student visa was expiring. And that was about early 75 when I spoke to the temple president in regard to my visa. So the temple president said, oh, there is a temple in Trinidad, and they're opening up a temple in Guyana. So now everyone in Guyana is moving up to Toronto and to the US. Now I am going back to Guyana because the temple president says they're opening up a temple there. So now I moved back to Guyana. I actually tried to go to Trinidad, and the immigration said maybe I didn't have any, I don't remember now, I probably didn't have an address to go to or a phone number or anything. So they said, no, we can't let you in. So, okay, then I went to Guyana and I found the temple there. And then I stayed there and preached there. We were doing, Bhuttadi Prabhu was already there. He had just come, and he got a house donated by an Indian gentleman, and we were using that house as a temple. So then we moved in there and we preached there for some time, and it was just Bhuttadi and I. And then the GBC, who was Jagajivan and Hridayananda, they said that they were going to send devotees from Trinidad. So they were sending devotees from Trinidad to come and assist in the preaching there. So on one of those occasions, Prabhuji, who was called Haridas at that time, his name before initiation, came over to Guyana, and he was there before, like he said, with Chitsukananda Prabhu. So he was there in Guyana before, but he was not at the location where we were. He was at different places preaching. So anyway, when he came, he was working with the preaching there, and then sometime shortly after, my father decided that we should get married along with the GBC, Jagajivan, and also Hridayananda Maharaj. They were both there. They went to my father's house, and the arrangement was made for us to get married. And then after we got married, then later on in early 76, we went to Trinidad. When we went to Trinidad, that was the time where we both got initiated. So I never met Srila Prabhupada personally. And at one time, my mom said, why are you so stupid? You are leaving where Srila Prabhupada will be, and you come here where he will never come. So she said to me, what is wrong with you? And I never got to see Srila Prabhupada, but I knew that I wanted to get initiated. So I approached Sarottama Prabhu and I said, Prabhu, you know that I want to get initiated, right? So then he made arrangements. He spoke with the GBC, and of course it wasn't like it is now where you have to go through Bhakti Shastri, all of that. Everyone was glad for you to come around and take initiation. So it wasn't an extensive process like now.
6 months you have to live in the temple.
Yeah. So we got initiated, and then the marriage ceremony took place. And after that, in 78, we moved up to the United States. So at that time, our story becomes one. It's the same. The same thing, reading and searching for Srila Prabhupada in his works. And that is the same thing I'm doing now. Still reading and trying to understand more and more about Srila Prabhupada. Yeah, that is, and hearing his lectures, reading and hearing lectures. That is what has sustained me through the years.
Well, a lot of times I had this experience, and it's funny, but a lot of times Prabhupada will come in dreams to me, and once he come in a dream, I noticed weeks after, everything become very auspicious, everything successful, everything, my whole devotional lives change. I feel really, really, really good. But it don't happen all the time, but it happened a good few times, that when difficult time come, Srila Prabhupada actually come in dreams, and he helped me out. And really, it's the chanting and doing some programs like I used to have in this house, monthly programs, devotees coming to maintain a spiritual life. I used to have a monthly program. We had Chandrasekhar Swami used to be here every month, and we had Srinada Maharaj. We had many, many, many devotees, stalwart devotees, coming here and giving lectures and stuff. And I guess this is some of the ways we got these benefit to maintain our spiritual life. I mean, you got to try. I mean, it's tough, but
so I would like,
yeah,
you're finished?
Yeah.
I would like to respond at this time. So coming to New York, when they had the temple on 55th Street, 340 West 55th Street, it was a 14-story building. They could house the devotees, and they were even housing families at that time. But it came a time when they sold the temple in 1980, and devotees had to find a place to go. Now remember, we are not from here, which means that we have no family connections here. None of his family or my family was here. We're here all alone. And we went to different places at one time when the temple building was sold and tried to move into different communities. But it didn't work out for us. It worked out for some people, but for us, it didn't work out. And it was extremely difficult for us because we didn't have our whole lives. We surrendered to Krishna as a teenager, and me as a late teenager. We joined ISKCON. What did we do? Book distribution, Sankirtan. When you're asked to leave that setting to go to a setting where you have to find your own, we were not able to do that. So there are lots of devotees. There's one devotee who's a Prabhupada disciple, also just like us, first initiate, and he still doesn't, he's now adjusting how to survive on his own. So it becomes extremely difficult. And I had to actually go back to school and continue my education in order to get a way to sustain us, to sustain the family. So it becomes really, really difficult. So I think if we see Prabhupada's disciples, the few of them that are still around, I think that people should be really thoughtful about how they deal with them, especially if they're still struggling and they're not able to find a way how to
make ends meet,
how to survive outside of the structure that they were brought up in. It's not an easy adjustment. And a lot of people who can adapt easily will have a very, very difficult time, especially if you were in a position where you had a family depending on you. It was not an easy adjustment. It was very, very difficult. And then in your struggle, if you're serious, you will see what is being offered outside is no comparison to Krishna consciousness. Anyone in their right mind will see what is being offered. what is being offered outside? Nothing can compare to what Prabhupada has given. So where do you go? Where do you go after experiencing Krishna consciousness? You just have to come back. There is nothing else that can fill that space. Absolutely not. This is nice that you asked this because it was very interesting for us. So I'm going to start, and then he has a lot to put in here. So we were in Guyana in Bel Air Park in 1977 in November, and we got the message that Srila Prabhupada had passed, and we were expecting it because we knew Prabhupada was ill. So we knew that at any moment we'd get the news. And then, so we were reading up on how does a disciple act when a spiritual master passes, and those things were kind of very pertinent discussion at that time. So at that time, there were some devotees who were from Trinidad. There was Siddha John Prabhu and Blues. So Blues and Siddha John were in Trinidad. Siddha John was he the authority, the temple president, or some position like that? He was in some authoritative position. I think maybe the temple president. And I think they were saying that temple presidents can come to Vrindavan. So now you want to talk.
No, what had happened was they asked, they mentioned, at that time the BBT letter used to go out every month, and they sent this letter stating that all temple presidents should come and visit Srila Prabhupada before he leaves his body, because soon he'll be leaving. And so I was staying at that time in we were staying in Bel Air Park in Georgetown, and I asked Butari, I said, Butari, can you sign the check so Dr. Srila could get a ticket? He's the president, and he should go to India and see Prabhupada. And Butari said no. And then I took a few devotees, and I went to collect money, and we can buy gold and stuff, sell it in Trinidad, and buy the ticket to go to see Prabhupada. Blues was there. Trimala Bhatta, he's an American devotee, was there. Siddhajana. So 1, 2, 3, we collect 5,000 here, 1,000, and we made up money. We bought a lot of gold, and taking it to Trinidad, sell it so they can get the ticket to go to see Prabhupada. And they get caught in the airport, and they throw them in jail. So Siddhajan's father, he was, like a big accountant in Diego Martin. So he was able to bring 100,000 or whatever it takes to get his son out. But Blues and Trimala Bhatta had to stay in jail. And so I left, and I came back to Trinidad, and I went to my father's house. I remember Prabhupada passed away. So I'm telling my father now, I'm cutting here and there because I don't remember exactly every detail. I'm telling my father, I said, Srila Prabhupada was my real father. And I'm crying to him. And I said, Srila Prabhupada saved me in every way. In every way, Srila Prabhupada saved me, materially and spiritually. And that was maybe a couple of days after Prabhupada passed away. Yeah, it was very painful seeing, Srila Prabhupada teach us how to eat, sleep, walk, talk. And here he's teaching us how to die too. And he leave his body like a mystic yogi easily and went back to Krishna. And so we are grateful, eternally grateful and indebted to him for showing me how to eat, how to sleep, how to live, how to die, everything that nobody else couldn't do that for me, even my own parents, So Srila Prabhupada was just going to remain in our hearts forever. And when we leave this body, I desire that I might go wherever he is serving and assist him there. I'm not really interested in going to Krishna because I know I can't go to Krishna right away. But at least if I can get the association of Srila Prabhupada wherever he's serving, because his Sankirtan is going on different planets, I believe. And many devotees are leaving their bodies, his disciples, elder disciples, and they're going to assist him wherever he is. And I believe that I might get the opportunity to do that too. Hopefully, if I stay on the path.
I just want to add something. Bhakti Charu Swami was saying, everybody knows that Bhakti Charu was there at the time when Srila Prabhupada was passing. So he was saying that he was concerned that Prabhupada said that we should always be chanting at the time of death. So Bhakti Charu Maharaj said he saw that Srila Prabhupada's mouth was closed and he wasn't chanting. So he became very, very concerned. But somehow or the other, Prabhupada's mouth opened and he saw Prabhupada's tongue moving. So he realized that Prabhupada was chanting even though his mouth was closed. So I was like amazed when I heard that. I thought that I should share that because I wasn't there, but he was able to see that and he shared it with us. I'll tell you one more thing. Bhakti Charu Maharaj was asked to translate these books, and he was very close to Prabhupada again, and he had something to discuss with Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada said to him, I don't remember what it was that discussion was about, but Prabhupada said to him that he has to be very careful when he is writing these purports, because these books are going to be around for a long, long time, and they're going to be the law book for mankind. So I have nothing else to say. If anyone wants to understand Srila Prabhupada, even a fraction of a bit, to read those books. There is no other secret. Srila Prabhupada makes everything so clear in these purports. They're so simple. You don't need a degree to understand them. Prabhupada's purports are so simple, even a layman can understand them. And he has put so much time, energy, effort, and love into these books. They're unbelievable. And anywhere anyone is struggling with devotional life, just sit with them and read to them a little bit. Anyone who is struggling, just a little bit of reading will give you so much hope, so much love you will feel from Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada had the ability to hold the world of devotees, tens of thousands of devotees, because of the love that was coming from his heart, from his books. So much time and effort. Anyone who is struggling, please read his books.
I feel that also that the devotees, if they don't commit offenses and they relate to senior devotees in a way that the senior devotee are pleased, I think that would help a lot. I mean, this is my opinion because I know this at work. The blessings of these senior devotees, it can help the juniors to progress better if they're not offensive. This is my observation after being over 40 years with the temple and experience with living among devotees. Most of the problem, it's simple, that false ego, pride, I'm better than you, you're better. Nobody wants to, if nobody wants to accept, that's why you get it from the books. If you read the books, then you're going to see all of these things. They become very simple. Because I remember when I was really a strong devotee, I used to just desire things and it would happen very fast. Like if I see somebody and I like them and I want to help them and they have the ways and quality, I ask Krishna, say, Krishna, can he be a devotee? Can she be a devotee? And Krishna would allow it. And it happened right through my family, right through strangers, people in the village. Like I told my wife when I married, I said, look, we have no devotee in this village, go. And a couple of years, many devotees come up, just distribute some books.